And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Geoffrey Edwards, President of the Futsal Association of Trinidad Tobago and moderator of this series. Futsal868 Corner Talks is an online meetup series where global sporting professionals share their perspectives on the fastest growing indoor sport in the world, futsal. For this month of June, Futsal868 will be hosting the four-part series entitled Sport and. The educational series will look at some of the sectors and professions that are part of the sporting landscape. In episode 55, we discuss sport and facilities management. Our guests are Ms. Sherlan Cabralis, Program Director at the UWI FIFA CIES Postgraduate Diploma Program in Sport Management, and Ms. Giselle Holder, Director at ACUITAS Caribbean Facility Management Company Limited here in Trinidad and Tobago. I want to say welcome, ladies. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. It is an utmost pleasure to have you all here today. We are going to speak facilities management and sport. For this first segment, I would like you all to break down to us what is facilities management, and secondly, who is a facility manager? I will start first with Ms. Holder and then on to Sherlan.
Yes, that's great.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Jeffrey. And it's really great to be here. Facility management is such a huge profession, but basically, to put it as simple as possible, facility management deals with anything that has to do with the built environment. So you see how general that is. So you're talking any type of facility, any sort of building that is occupied, even remotely occupied, any sort of specialist facility ranging from airports to hospitals to commercial buildings, schools, houses, anything at all falls into the range. And the how you take care of that to ensure the proper functionality, the proper operation, and keeping it all within a safe environment as well. So sort of big, sort of generic, but that's really what it's all about.
Okay. Your mic off.
Ms. Cabralis, so tell me, what is a facility manager?
Okay. Well, I'm glad that Giselle went first, but thank you for having me. No, Giselle, when she explained it, it's really this is the conversation always kind of half in class, right? Because I more or less focus on the management of it. So Giselle, and they build it, they make sure that it's well maintained and the technical part of the building is organized. What we really look at is the management of ensuring that it's occupied, that it's utilized, that it is financially viable. So there's two parts in facility management. You have the technical part where you maintain it and stuff, and then you have the management part. And sometimes we don't see the management part of it, especially for sport, because we will build these lovely facilities and then we will try to maintain it, but we forget the part where we need to manage, occupy, create events, and make money out of it. So I will look at it from, I agree with Giselle, it contains all that and then some. And I normally tell my students it is a facility manager as jack of all trade, master of none. So that's what it's all about.
And based on some of the trades, you're talking about project management, you're talking about risk management, housekeeping, policy making, booking and scheduling. Did I miss out anything else, Giselle, when you're talking about the roles of a facility manager?
I don't know how much time do we have because just as Sherlan said, you touch on so many things within facility management, and she's quite right. It goes from the strategic level to the tactical level. And as a facility manager, you're challenged every day to wear so many different hats because you can be seen as part of the corporate, part of the business, depending on what your model is, meaning you're helping push that corporate vision, that corporate objective, but you're also part of making it happen, in terms of physically out there, ensuring that policy becomes implemented. It's not just words. So, that's business skills, that's people skills, that's technical skills. It's really a wide range. And it's one of the reasons, too, persons come from all backgrounds and could actually fall into the field of facility management quite nicely.
Yes.
Giselle, I know that you are past president of an organization based in Trinidad and Tobago. Can you tell us more to that organization, what you all are doing as regards to facility management in Trinidad and Tobago? And is that field saturated or not?
Okay, so I'm glad that we got the opportunity to talk about this. So I am past president of the Trinidad and Tobago chapter of IFMA, which stands for the International Facility Management Association. And the core of IFMA, its main focus is education in facility management. So as a past president, what we've always done throughout the industry and as one of our main goals is to try to establish as far as possible opportunities for professionals to become certified in facility management. And then, of course, there's the whole advocacy and awareness part as well that has to happen. So you asked about saturation. There are so many people in the field of facility management who just don't know that they are, simply because it's not branded as facility management. We call ourselves all sorts of things: building technicians, operations, the guy with the mop, and we're all part of this great industry. So what we've done, and with the rest of the world, because facility management is still new in terms of its profession and in terms of establishing itself as a profession, we're still working on sort of the framework, so to speak, the structure and the education of that to all persons in terms of even selling it as a career choice, not something that we just kind of fall into eventually or realize, oh, all these years I do in facility management, I didn't even know. So, that's really what we're about. So we do many things like webinars, seminars. We have courses in terms of people getting certified from the international body. And, we work with other organizations who have a similar focus as well.
So before we go on into how important is facility management in sport, Ms. Cabralis, please share with us, as she speaks about education, as program director at the UE FIFA CIES Postgraduate Diploma, where does facility management fall into the whole fray? And yes, I'm a past student, but for those who don't know, please do share with us.
Okay. Well, the program is a multidisciplinary program, so it covers a lot of things. So one of the course is sports facility management. And the approach is really about the management of it from the perspective of making it operational, by operationalizing the facility, and then you're able to market the facility, create opportunities for yourself, events, and more the business part of it. We normally will talk about systems and facility design from a sports perspective, but the focus is really about really getting the facility to be financially viable and also to be able to host enough programs so that it will be bursting in the seam with people just utilizing the facilities. Because when I believe you mentioned, or you didn't mention, when we were talking before, we spoke about how many facilities there are in Trinidad and Tobago, and we continue to build more, and specifically sports facilities, and we have built some mega facilities, and they're not being utilized. And so now we have at least 100 and something students who have a basic knowledge of facility management, and they're not given the opportunity to actually, ply their trade and really implement some of the things that we have learned in class. And that's very important. And so as far as education is concerned, I feel that we have a wealth of knowledge out there that is underutilized in the way that it should be.
So well said by both of you in terms of education, because that's very important from us here at Corner Talks to be able to educate the stakeholders. And that's what this series is about, sport, and to be able to find more opportunities for persons and to be able to educate them as well to the sector. And in this case, this Sunday, sports facilities management. One of you guys, can you tell us, or better yet, any one of you, why is facilities management important for sport? Sherlan, I know that you will touch a little bit on it. I don't want you to go too in depth because that's our second segment. But Why? Some people might say, you know, the coach really important. You know, like what happened yesterday in football. Some people might say the players really important.
All right, Jeffrey. The football is gone. Why is it important, Jeffrey? We'll move on. You need facility for every single sport. You cannot play a sport without a facility. Regardless if you're doing open water swimming, you have to start somewhere that you have to gather people and organize them before they enter into open water to swim. So it is a necessity as it relates to sport. And because it is one of the core elements of participating in sport, we have to know how to manage. We have to know what we're building for who and how we're going to use it. And that is how important sports facility is. And because of its importance, and as Giselle said, you know, the technical and tactical aspect of facilities, we have to look at it from a professional level and ensure that the people who run in these facilities or involved in running these facilities are qualified. They know what they're doing. Okay, that's just my spiel. I'm sure Giselle will be able to add more.
I can, but I feel like we're running out of time.
Yes.
But certainly, one thing though that you said, Sherlan, that I am a great advocate for, you see that concept of beginning with the end in mind? Because you're talking about the design part of the facility, right? Where often the facility manager is nowhere to be found. We're not even thinking facility manager. We're talking project management, construction, and all of that. We just thinking, get this building done, and then we'll make it work afterwards. And that, to me, is one of the main reasons why sometimes so many of our facilities, sporting in this instance, it's just not a good fit when we get that product, and we almost inherit problems from day one. From the first day we enter the facility, we realize that things just don't work right. And if we have that focus in terms of from design, from concept, we have the right people in the room, facility managers included, then you're talking a better appreciation of the whole life cycle of that facility from day 0 to year 50 in terms of how we're going to build to operate and maybe at some point, you know, dispose of it or move on to another facility. But that sort of, you know, holistic view is very hard to find and not quite the norm. So if out of this program we could get that, that would be really great.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, I have to agree. Knowing who's around the table is important because I have had experience visiting so many sports facilities in Trinidad and Tobago. And every time you walk through this facility, there's always a flaw because the people who make this decision are not sportsmen and sportswomen. They, you know, and you know, it's either a contractor that they just hire with no sports background. And I think it must go across the industry as far as hiring contractors who don't know the industry. It could be a hospital, it could be whatever it is, and you hire somebody and you don't have that conversation with the people who actually use in the facility and who will be responsible for the facility. And you're absolutely right, Giselle. It's a nightmare to go in a facility and the corridor is 2 feet wide and you need to take out a tennis board that is about 4 feet wide. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do?
Or you need to change a light and you need a man lift to change the light, which makes no sense. So, you know, it's the practicality of it and the cost aspect assigned to that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
What a perfect way to end our first segment, because when we come back, we're going to continue in that vein and speak more to sports and facility management. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Yes, Sherlan, I had to say that in win, lose or draw, we still stronger together. We still saying to the guys, you know, keep your heads up, no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what. But with a population of 1.4 million, which has been since donkey years, I don't know how come CSO is still saying 1.4 million. Trinidad Tobago is one of the top countries in the world with stadium per capita. In 2001 for the under 17 World Cup, FIFA World Cup, that is, 4 stadiums were added to the Hazy Crawford Stadium. The sport company is in charge of 24 of the nation's facilities, which is classified into 3 categories: national stadium, multi-purpose stadium, regional, and locals. Noting that, according to an interview 2 months ago with Mr. Jason Williams, CEO of Sport Company, done by Mr. Ryan Beachy of CNC3, it costs routine maintenance is approximately 56 million TT per year. 56 million TT per year. I mean, oof, guys, talk to us. We have sometimes it look like we have more facilities than we are real facilities, and most of them are white elephants. I would like to hear the perspectives from both of you all as regards to this.
You say sometimes, Jeffrey.
Well, I try to be politically
No,
correct.
we have way more facilities than anywhere, and you did not add regional corporations. So you have central government and local government. So when you look at recreation facility, open space, parks, and stuff like that, it's over 528 facilities. Add that to the inventory of what central government is responsible for. And then double that 50 something million dollars, and then you have 100 and something million dollars you have to come up with to maintain facilities. It's a real situation. And so what can we do? That's a conversation because it's already built. And I know Giselle from the maintenance and the technical part of it, we have sufficient people to do that. And again, I'm sticking on my side of the facility aisle, the management part. The part you're saying we want to make it financially viable, and I try to really, could we really do that? Is that a real thing? Can we really make these facilities financially viable? 1.4 million people with how many facilities? Tell me. I straight back to you, Jeffrey.
No, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to remove myself from the conversation, allow you ladies to speak this for the next 5 minutes, because it will be really interesting to hear from both of you all. Sports and non-sports, speak to the passion that is, and that you all know, which is facilities management, to find out why, the what, the how, the why, to all of these facilities that we have. Don't go yet into solutions, because we also have to talk about modernization of facilities. But I really will step out of the studio for a little bit and have you guys speak more to it. If I may, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. So let you all go, Giselle.
Okay, so I'll put it to Giselle, right? Because I'm a sports person, so I could go to town on this. But not being a sports person, what do you think when you hear the kind of inventory that we have as it relates to sports facility? What is your concern? What are some of the things that you think about automatically?
Well, one of the huge problems we have in general is that we don't have proper inventory. We are not able, unfortunately, as a nation, with great authority, be able to say we have X number of square feet that we manage. And I'm talking now from a facility management standpoint. So if we look at it from that standpoint, if there's the saying, if you don't know, if you don't know what you manage and how can you if you can't measure, then how can you manage it? Right? So if we don't even have the statistics, the data behind it, then to me, even throwing forward certain solutions, you're kind of just trying something, you're just hoping you pelted the data, just hoping that one of them hits something at some point. And it comes back to the approaches, in terms of using the science. We mentioned in the first segment that we have programs. We also have international things. We have local things, regional and international programs that can help equip our pool of resources to be better qualified, right? But, it makes you wonder if that sort of career path is even being explored. So to me, hearing that we have 500 plus facilities is not really surprising, because it's unfortunately the norm that we have so much of so many things, but who's
Yes.
really keeping track?
Mhm.
Nobody really keeping track. And then we'll build a new one at some point
Yes.
in time,
Right.
right? And another one will suffer. But I mean, it really comes back to what is our goal in mind, what is really governing that whole picture of what do we want sports facilities in Trinidad to look like. When
Right.
people think of Trinidad and
Right.
they think on Tobago, sorry, and they think of the quality of service when you go to a sporting facility, what is that? Is that standard? Is that the same if I go to one place, I'm getting the same as another? And that standardization too is something, to me, we need to talk about more as well,
Right.
because it's
Yes.
not just because it's a new facility we want to go there because it's new and everything working, and the older ones we don't want to go to because it run down and it has a smell. No, it's the same level of vigor and rigor, and you
Right.
also need to treat the same, because we have some wonderful facilities. I mean, I live very close to the stadium, and to me that is such a wonderful facility. I mean, it's
Of
here a
course.
long time, and it
Yes.
needs to be here longer than us. So,
Right.
for that to happen, we really need an injection of proper care,
Right.
and proper thought and proper
Right.
budgeting to go
Right.
into that.
No, you're absolutely right. We have information, but it's not centralized. So knowing, like, how I'll be able to tell you, the regional corporation, they will have a list of all their facilities. If you visit their website, you ask them question, you would get
Yes.
that information. And so they have their way of dealing with their facilities. So there's no connectivity, there's no consistency. So how, as you're saying, a standard of service when you go to regional corporation type facilities, totally different from the national stadium and central government type facilities. So we really need to look at what we have. What do we have? Because then you need a plan. Do we
That's
really
right.
plan? We need a plan. We need a plan for sports, and thereby we need a plan for facility. It's not just who whispers in the king's ears get a facility, because to be honest, that's how it goes. Who can whisper in the king's ears gets the facility of his or her choice. So when you go to the regional corporation, which is local government, it's rarely the people in the community get to decide what they will get. And so we need an overall policy as it relates to sports and facilities. And then we could look at our inventory and really come up with a plan on what kind of service we can offer
Right.
Trinidad and Tobago. And I think what you're offering is great. I actually went to a session or two, a while back when I started teaching, and I joined the International Facility Management, FEMA, right? It's FEMA?
IFMA.
FEMA, right. And I went to a couple of their program, but when you go to it, it always seems to be more technical than where I am at and what I
Right.
do, which is more the management part. And and they would be talking about facilities like hospital and these big mega facilities, like, Lord forbid, I don't know anything about it.
No, but I get exactly what you're saying, because
Right,
there are specialist fields within the industry, right? So
right,
somebody, actually you mentioned hospital, somebody dealing with a hospital, that's a specialist,
right,
right? Because that's all you know. And the same way somebody dealing with a sporting facility, you're a specialist,
right,
because
yeah,
it needs a specialist focus. I can't just transfer somebody who's taking care of a commercial building or office building and be like, boom, be the sporting facility manager and expect it to be seamless, because it's
right,
different. I mean, it's core. I would say core knowledge areas, yes,
right,
but you
yeah,
need a specific focus, because you're talking now being able to work with the organization to generate income.
right,
Facility management is usually a cost center. That's the norm. We spend
right,
money. We spend
right,
money because you need to maintain things. But if
right,
you're talking now a sporting facility, the look, the feel when you enter a sporting facility, that brings in the money. Because you
right,
have business people and they're now saying, hey, I really love this facility. I really love that stadium.
right.
I want to do my next sporting competition
Mhm.
here. And it's because the facility manager and the team, making that effort in terms of how the grounds is kept, how the the bathrooms, the seating, the lights, everything. It
Right.
creates that look and feel. So it's a
Right.
whole partnership that really needs to happen that once again isn't quite there yet. Isn't quite
Right.
there yet.
And I
If I
think
may,
that is it. Sorry, Jeffrey. And that is the difference when we have the conversation of a facility manager. You find that the pick is somebody from a technical perspective, and we lose the connection to really be a little to be creative in finding ways to attract people to your
That's
facility.
right.
We don't do
That's
that.
right.
We sit and wait for people to call to make a booking. That is
Mhm.
not what goes out in the real
Nope.
wide world. That's not what they do. They market the facility. They go out there and they look for clients. They look for as they call them, anchor clients, where they're
Mhm.
there. Because people, when you have the conversation and say, okay, Madison Square Garden, it's not owned by the Knicks. They're just one of the
Exactly.
anchor tenants. Just like the New York Islanders, they're one of the anchor tenants. And everybody else fit between there. We have to
Mhm.
understand this thing because you need a certain skill set to take it to that level. So no, we need a combination of the technical and management, the
Yes.
business, the service, jack of all trade, master of none.
I
But
like to say master of all.
oh, well,
according
yes,
to
I feel that way too. Master
according
of
according to
yes,
national
definitely.
according to national policy on sport,
Mm-hmm.
2017 to 2027. When you do a search and you type in facility or facilities, there are four. It comes up 40 times out of a document that is over 185 pages long. And very interestingly enough, is that when it is you look at it, you're seeing words such as rehabilitation, upgrade and implement provisions. You're seeing community, you're seeing high performance, all of these tied in to sport and sport facilities. But yet it is very few times you hear, as you are mentioned, Sherlan, marketing of said. You may see it a little bit of it when it comes to sport tourism, and it goes back again. If we tie that into the last budget, where sport was mentioned only 5 times in the entire budget,
Oh wow.
what does that tell you? So if it is we now move along the conversation, Giselle, from the your side of things as a former president of the Trinidad and Tobago chapter, where do you feel your members can add value to the conversation, to the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to better this whole concept of facility management in sport?
Mhm. I think there's so many options. So we were already talking about Sherlan and I were already talking about the science behind it in terms of the education. That to me is the foundation, the qualification, ensuring first of all that your pool of resources know what they're about, right? Now that I also believe that education is complemented by experience. So what we have a lot of in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of people since they are babies, they're working in this facility and they're there since, they'll be there forever. And that sort of intellectual capacity, you can't just get that. That knowledge you can't just get. And that is invaluable. But you see, that plus somebody coming in there with some hardcore, say it's technical skills or knowledge of, software and how you could, really revamp the space, that is dynamic. And that's something to like totally just blow up the whole industry in a good way. So in terms of what our members do, we're all just normal facility management working, so the facility managers, sorry, working within our buildings. But as I said, that scientific approach and that focus on seeing what's out there. So there are specific programs, just like what Sherlan run, that you can go to and you can get the education and start the ball rolling. Because even by doing that, you're building your network, you're increasing your knowledge by just having a conversation. Exactly what you're doing here today, Jeff, in terms of raising that awareness in a very informal way. It is not a classroom. We're just talking. But that is very powerful because people will listen. So in terms of the government side of it, we also have other platforms through the Chamber of Commerce. There's a facility management committee there as well. And part of their focus is on the advocacy side of it. So like the policies now and helping with that. But everything takes a while. Right. So it's been happening. Conversations have been very good, but we know it takes a while in terms of, actually getting things out there to be implemented. So it's a long road ahead, but I would say that the ball is rolling.
Nikisha Chapman seems to agree with you. She said so true. Thank you very much, Nikisha. And we thanks for all those who comment on the show, both via Facebook and also YouTube. Sherlan, coming to you as regards to the government and specifically when it comes to what may be deemed as white elephants. Given even before COVID-19, some persons may say that these mega stadia were underutilized. And I know that you have always spoken proudly, you have also always spoken boldly as regards to some of these suggestions for the use of said. What would you say to our stakeholders who are listening today? We get to this COVID-19 situation. How can we be able to market and utilize said facilities more effectively and efficiently, noting the bottom line is about making money?
Well, I, I don't, making money is one thing, bottom line, utilization. If we're able to utilize it, we will make the money. And we have to get people in those facilities to justify spending that kind of money on those facilities and even any facility that you have. So that's one thing. But what we're missing is operationalizing the facility by hiring the people to do the work. So if you go to, for instance, the National Stadium, you would have 3 people in the office, maybe 5. It would just be a clerical person and everything is outsourced. The entire system of how we operate sports facilities in Trinidad is really about outsourcing some of the main things that people are supposed to do. So we need to operationalize it by hiring people to do the job of selling said facility. And unless we do that, we'll continue to just put a guard in front. And then somebody will come and they'll say, you need to use the facility. And then you let them just come in and use the facility. There is nothing going on the facility other than what it's offering. There's no plans, there's no events, there's no forward thinking. I mean, I'm not trying to dog anybody because I know they're trying, but I know that the only way that you could get the facility to go into the direction of financial viability is operationalizing the facility itself, hiring the people to do the work in order to make it work out for everyone in Trinidad and Tobago. And only, so that's central, that's just one half, that's central government. If we look at local government now, the entire structure is not about operationalizing, because everything works under the works department. So they have a work supervisor, one, very much technical again. So as far as activity around those facilities, is really the community that will plan events and do things for themselves. So how are you really managing what we do with those facilities? So utilize the people that we train, utilize the people that Giselle and them have a nice pairing of operation as well as management, and get them in those facilities and let them work, let them be creative, let them come up with ideas. We have enough human resources out there to be able to maximize the use of those facilities.
At once, Giselle, sorry, you go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just going to add, right, because it was kind of going back a little bit. You had mentioned the 53 million, was it, budget?
Yeah, yes. Yes, that's
right,
central government. That's central
right,
government. Yeah.
Right. So, but it's also not a surprising figure. Reason being, when a facility is built, this is just general, right?
Yes.
There must be an estimation for what that maintenance will be. That cannot be done in silos. It's not to build the building, then wonder what will happen after. It's all part of the planning process. So Sherlan's point about that I love that about the facilities being occupied and being used, having a plan. And that goes back, that skeleton staff is because we can't afford it. We can't afford to have people work because nobody planned for that. Nobody budgeted to have a team sitting down there, who will remain active and stuff. Because money is scarce, right? So if we had to cut, the BD facilities, people will cut because we just don't have it right now. We can't afford that because it wasn't planned for it. So that
Yes.
53 million really should not be a surprise. It should have been something planned for. Of course, we have, all the things happening, the world economic downfall and stuff we can't really plan for, but at least we would have had something in place, right? In terms of when we forecast down the road, the 10 years, whatever we're looking at for this facility, and able to move on that. But you see, we don't think that far ahead, unfortunately. And it's always about let's just build it. And when it built, it look nice. But
Yes.
nobody really talk about how do we keep it looking nice? How do we
Right.
keep it being safe? How do we keep it performing the way we want it to perform? And we need those guys. We need people on site every day doing their maintenance, doing their part to keep it working so that, as Sherlan said, when we get those opportunities now, and that in itself will bring the opportunities because you will be maintaining, and we talked about it already, you're maintaining that facility at a very high standard, regardless of whether it's off season, is what is the same thing throughout the year for all the years. And that level of service is something that costs money, but it will also bring returns, right?
Yes.
So we have to spend money. We have
Yes.
to spend money in order for us to have these high functioning, high performing facilities that will generate the income we need and will surpass at times, because you'll have people, as Sherlan said, booking it for all sorts of things. I mean, I am not a sports person. I won't even get into it. But I know Brian Lara because of the Carnival Fest, right? I know down there. And I'm being real, right?
No, but you're
But,
right.
and not bringing money. I mean, I know it's COVID and everything, but we're talking planning, right?
Yes,
And
yes, of course.
why not? And the stadium, why not? So concerts and all these things, it should be a whole program, a whole yearly thing. Those things should never be underutilized. There should always be something happening. And that would demand that the maintenance remain at a certain level because you can't afford to slip,
Right.
but it's a kind of chicken and the egg, right?
Yeah.
No, but you're absolutely right because Jeffrey, that 53 million is only for maintenance,
Correct. It's
They're
56,
not
it's
actually
56
talking
million.
about having people
People
running the
salaries.
facility, And so
Yeah.
it really we had a very we have to know what to prioritize and when we're planning, you have to put the money down. Our operational budget is just as is more important than the budget to build the thing because if you build it and
Indeed.
you can't operationalize it, don't build the thing. Don't build it.
Thank you. Don't build it.
So,
For what you already have built.
I
so
agree.
So Johan says he agree.
Yeah.
And Sherlan, we have one of your former students
What's
who is
that?
actually a facility manager who choose to chime in. Mr.
Yes.
Karen Modest, who is saying
Look here.
not thinking that far ahead causes us to suffer worst in the end by spending a lot
Yes.
more on refurbishment and repairs after years of not being properly maintained.
Because we're
Karen, thank
not
you very
beginning
much.
with the end in
We're
mind.
not
We
beginning with the
do
end in
not.
mind. It's
Do not.
interesting that we're speaking about that because it's the same thing in our past episodes. We spoke about sports and finances. And we had the CEO of RBC, Mr. Daryl White, on the show, as well as the former chairman of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, who actually, that was their mantra. Both gentlemen spoke about that in terms of planning. You're supposed to plan with the end in mind. Guys, it's very interesting that you all be speaking all of this. I want us to more move to the modernization side of things because Giselle, you spoke to the fact that we have to spend money, yeah. And I know somebody gonna have a brilliant idea. Here we're going on. We're gonna refurbish all of the stadium, but we're gonna make it modern. No problem. Modern speaks to intelligent buildings, energy savings, and reduction of life cycle cost. Do you think, guys, that we need to have smart venues or intelligent venues here in Trinidad and Tobago at this juncture? That's one. And additionally is, if it is we do need smart venues, Do you think that we should do it as a phased project, or we should go and spend all out and get our venues to look like Qatar or Beijing or the US?
Oh my
Talk to
God.
us.
You want me to give you a quick answer? No.
I was like, well, yeah, that's the answer. It's been a good session. Yeah, but
Oh
you're
my
right.
God,
It's no.
Jeffrey.
It's no.
We're not even ready for what we have. And I know it has to be on a phase basis, Dan, because again, we need to move with the time. It is only natural for us to move with the time, because if we want to compete outside there, from a sports perspective, we have to move with the technology. But at this juncture, we have to get ourselves together and know what we're doing as with what we have now. How we going to we need to spend the money on getting people in there to make sure that people utilize the facility, to raise funds, and then we could make the money to change thing and move it into the 25th century, the 100th century. Who cares what century? But we have to organize it now.
So,
Indeed.
Sherlan, all of my nice slides that are going to show and go that because the simple answer is at least I'm gonna show my nice slide now. Let me show my nice slide now.
Jeffrey, let me say.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead, Sherlan.
Giselle. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay, no, what I was going to say, right? Basically, it's something we always say in TTF, right? Garbage in is garbage out. Meaning, before we talk technology, we got to make sure what we have working. Because what we like to do, and this has nothing to do with sporting facilities only, just in general in life. We get dazzled, right? The glitz and glamour of what technology has, and no one takes the time to find out when we bring in this technology to satisfy this certain need. Did we even have a manual way of dealing with this in the first place at work? But we want the technology to come in and be the answer for everything. And that's how you spend millions of dollars and get nothing in
Right.
return. And then everybody is like, oh, how come that happened?
So let me flip it then. I love this conversation. So let me put my little nice
Put
little
up the slides.
I'm gonna put my nice little thing.
Yes,
Right,
please.
Colin?
Put up the
So
slides.
smart venue, the business behind tech, you have that nice you understand? It looking pretty, yeah. Looking pretty. You have a
Really
smart
nice.
venue, connectivity. I mean, we already have that. We could get B Mobile, we could get Green Dot for connectivity. Security is already known. Smart utility in terms of you go in, you have your electric water and hand blower, venue operations, intelligence services in terms of ticketing, transport and parking, smart transactions, team and venue apps, crowd analytics, venue media. So from this graphic, guys, do you all see it as we could do this? We really could do this, what is there? That's one. And secondly is if somebody go abroad and come back and call a meeting at the followers and say, hey, I just come from X country and I see a beautiful facility and I want X facility to look just like that. I know your answer already is no, guys. But let's just say they went ahead and they want to plan it. They want to actually, the stubborn Sherlan, you know what we're talking about. They want to do it. They want to do what is in that graph, my nice little graph. What would you suggest to them?
I was thinking, Jeffrey, they see your presentation and that make them say they want to do it.
Oh, yeah. That's how we build things, Somebody jump on a plate, see something pretty, and then they come out and say, oh, we should build it. No feasibility study, no conversation with the stakeholders. If I feel to build it, I'll just go in, because who whisper in the king's ears? That's what happens. But there's some things on that list, Jeffrey.
Yes.
We could do.
All right. So it's
that does not need any real investment per se, like e-ticketing. I saw that on there.
Yes.
Some of those kind maybe connectivity where you have certain services, so you pull down an app and we're able to service that. But we need people in the stand, Jeffrey. We need people in the stand. You can't offer
let don't go there. Let don't go there. Let don't go there.
No,
Let
that's
don't
what
go
we have
there
to
just
talk
yet.
about.
But then again, you're correct because facility management is also about marketing your facility. So you're quite
Yeah.
correct. You're
But
quite
let
correct.
me also add, because Jeffrey, I understand. We want to talk about how we could, right? So you want to
Right.
know, say we
Yes.
could. So money is not an option. We have all the money anyway. No, but
Yeah.
seriously, and as Sherlan said, right, you must have some sort of assessment happening, right? Because yes, we want this result, but we here now, right? This is where. So one way of dealing with that is first identifying where we are. So, what is the status of our facility? We need to have a complete and comprehensive understanding of all the systems within our facility, right? And something we use in facility management called a facility condition assessment is for any building, any type of facility. And it's exactly about that, churning out for you, this is everything about my air conditioning system. This is everything about my electrical. When you have that kind of data, because data is so powerful, then we could start projecting now about how we fill in the gaps, because maybe we realize the lights we have old fluorescence throughout. We still have the kind of 60-watt bulbs and all those things. And we want to move maybe to LED lighting and stuff. So that could be a project we take on, because you all also spoke about the phasing, right? So, but we need to know what we have first, and then able to assess what we could move to, right? Because we can't start blind. We can't just be like, oh, let's just go to LED and, we bounce our head. So that establishment of our existing, with the status of that, then using that tool now to create, as I said, a very detailed report on every building system, even to documenting the age of the particular pieces of equipment within each system. You're talking also, it's there are terms called, useful life and all these things. You're benchmarking against also how much longer this piece of equipment has before is more likely to fail. Those are things where the facility management side of it lends value, right? So that then now when we come to plan, because we're still planning, right? Because we're looking forward. This is now something we also call capital improvement. So we're thinking now of a major project we want to take on for this facility. So we know where we are now. We know that, okay, in the next 3 years, right? If we do it maybe 30%, 33% per year kind of thing, we're gonna change out the lights in the northern part. Then we're gonna change out the lights, and we could budget for that. You could plan for that. So it comes back to, as we already said, a phased approach, but you cannot forget the science. We need the data, and we need to have accurate data, timely data, right? So that comes back to me putting some of the tools in the facility management approach to the facility. So you need that complement as well for these very big and high-end and technological projects to be fruitful, because that's what we want it to be. When we spend this money, that we're going to see results. We're going to have those filled, to capacity venues, and we churning out, profit. But even more than that, we have an experience, a very priceless experience. Anybody come into our facility, they never forget it for the good reasons. For good reason.
And I like that. And thank you, Giselle, for taking me on and not for the Sherlan telling me no. Sherlan
I
just
still
telling
don't
me
know.
no.
I still don't know though.
But
Yes,
you still know. All
yes,
right, all right. Go
very
ahead, Sherlan.
technical. And and the management side, at the end of the day, if we hell no, we gotta fill up the
But
place.
but Sherlan, there's
But no,
something that
it's
she
perfect. It's
mentioned.
perfect. It's
There's
about
something she mentioned as regards to experience.
yes.
Facilities management and experience. A facility and its experience. Can
Right.
you shed some more light as regards to that? Because many persons don't understand that a facility is also part of your experience
Oh,
as a
yes.
fan, as a spectator. Can you
Of
shed more light
course.
on that?
Yes, if we could go back into how many times we have visited so many different facilities, and outside people actually pay to just walk around a facility to see what it has to offer. I've gone to a couple of site visits for facilities. So once you enter into the facility, just the fact that you get to park, it takes me X amount of time to walk, how long it takes for me to get there, to to check my ticket, to get to my seat. And when I want to use the washroom is clean. When I want to buy something to eat, I'm able to get there and be serviced very quickly to get back to my seat, that I'm safe. And when I go back outside, my car is still there safe. That entire experience is what most, remember, I mean, we're going back into the sport, right? People attend sport for different reasons. Some for entertainment, some because they are fanatic, some because they want to escape their life. And so whatever on the pitch is the thing that we don't have control over, right? Remember, we talk about all the time. We know for sure that we weren't going to win, right? Or we knew we were going to win yesterday. Move on.
No, ma'am.
Anyway, so no control on the pitch, but we have control of that experience when you come to the game. And that is where facility management comes in. That's where your service, your level of service coming. So it's extremely important that we control what we can control. And if we're able to deliver high quality product off the pitch, we wouldn't bother about too much what's on the pitch, because most of the people who come to watch a game is not really the fanatics. It's really entertainment. So we want to entertain them with everything from the time they leave home until they go back home safely. So that's where service comes in.
Well said.
And one thing I'll just add to Sherlan's point is the consistency of that, which is where the money coming in. Because it can't be that today we good and tomorrow people like, well, there's the same place. It can't be like that. We need the consistency.
So we have comments coming in fast and furious, which clearly means that people are enjoying themselves here. So let's see what's happening right now. Karen again, he says modernization and smart venues is one thing, but the decision makers are not that invested in sport as an industry in TNT, yet to be willing to spend the capital required to get us to that point. He continues, also, we are not necessarily there yet as a culture to appreciate and fully utilize modern options. People don't fully utilize the facilities as it is. Is modernized for who? And I think that's what Sherlan is saying. Guys, just to let you all know that Sherlan taught Karen, so that is
no pressure.
No there.
but I want to just add one thing to Karen, though. I mean, just to say one thing, though. I do not agree that it be not there yet with our culture. I think, you see, Trinbagonians, there's nothing we can't do. Double negatives, they're fair. Nothing we can't do. Reason being, we will go anywhere in the world and excel, right? But for some reason, when it comes to our own, I don't know, like we find it hard with the passion, right? We don't bring the same energy. But however, we jump to things and do well in it when we want to. I will go back. This is not a carnival show, but I will go back to carnival. We have some of the latest technology when it comes to a fete for carnival in terms of how you purchase tickets and your experience. Why can't that be across the board for all our industries? You see, so it's not a culture thing. It's something I don't know what it is, Karen. Karen, I don't know.
But it is a culture thing, because we are culture of, as the old people said, we are culture of wine, woman, and sound. So, and you're not seeing sport in that culture. So if the party and the party promoters are raising their standard and keeping in line with their standard, with international standards, and trying to surpass international standards, then it is us who are sport promoters who are not doing the same.
Because you see it in oil and gas too, eh? Our oil and gas industry is on par with the rest of the world.
Right. So therefore, it is us in the sport industry who is not keeping up to scratch and lifting our games to be able to speak value to our culture. And I think that is really and truly where it is. So, I mean, if it is, we take a morph between what you are saying and what Karen is saying, I think there are many solutions to what that is. I really believe that national sporting organizations, national governing bodies need to take a page out of promoters in how they present their product that is sport, so that they can, first and foremost, attract locals, and then secondly, attract investors, sponsors, and the likes there be, because sports is entertainment. So even as we look at it from that standpoint, we'll be in a better stance. Sherlan, you were saying?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to go back to the one word that Giselle mentioned. The reason why sport is not the way, when you look at carnival, is consistency. We are not consistent. The quality of our service is inconsistent. And we can guarantee, I know which carnival that I'm going to every year because I know the quality of the fete that I'm going to go to. So when we look at sport, and it's not about the pitch on the picture. I really don't pay attention to what's going, who win, loss. I could, let me don't say it, but they win, they lose. And I move on. But the consistency in the way that we manage things, the focus, where we spend our money, we inconsistent, and the quality, people complain and they walk away. That's why people prefer to watch international football, and then when it have TT Pro League, 10 people in the stand, and every single body in Trinidad and Tobago to tell you, I'm exaggerating, but a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago could tell you every player and this team and the next team, and they're a fan and a fan and a fan. I'm not a fan with nothing. It's because of the inconsistency and the quality of what we produce. So Giselle is spot on with inconsistency, and Carnival is consistent.
But we'll speak more to that carnival because it's very nice to be able to take, I didn't even think about it, how we could be able to look at two things that operate in the same space, but yet one is better than the other. But before we do that, we have another comment from Blaze Garcia, who says, "We waste a lot of money building these sporting facilities and not utilizing them. When is the time to use it? That's when we'll rush to solve the problems, if any else. We need to be more proactive," which again is another culture thing. So on that note, let's look at a carnival event and a sporting event from a facilities manager's eyes. Guys, I would like us to do that because I think that in doing that, it also helps us to add more suggestions to facilities management in sports in Trinidad and Tobago. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll discuss that when we come back. Let's take a quick sip of water and we'll come back. Welcome back to Futsal868 Corner Talks. And we are a little bit shuffled all over the place. Yeah, we shuffle back everybody where they're supposed to be. But it has been, as you said, Sherlan, our corner already. This is our last segment.
Yeah.
It has been amazing to say least, and I think we should do this again, guys. But we were speaking to our culture, which Karen Modest, one of our viewers, mentioned. And it's very interesting, as we said before the break, that in this 4-part series entitled Sport, and with the first part being Sport and Facility Management, that our party promoters seem to be getting it right. So let's speak to sport, parties, and facilities management. What makes it different? Guys, when it is you go to a party from a facilities manager standpoint, What do you look for? And how do they get it right? But yet, us as sport promoters, NGBs, NSOs get it wrong.
Mm-hmm. I want to jump in. So we already have consistency ticked off, right? So we know we're going to the same Fed for the last 10 years. And we know why we're going, right? But added to that, there's also I think we could also take off experience because we've talked about that as well. And that's synonymous with carnival. We go to something because of the way we feel, right? We know we're gonna see people we haven't seen. We see the same people at that time of year every year, and that's the only time we see them. So that experience we look forward to. And that is also synonymous to the well-maintained facility. But another thing too, I would say, and we've kind of touched on it a bit in our conversation, would be the budgeting aspect of it. Because I'm not talking necessarily Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. I'm talking very specific, maybe even the private bodies that do Carnival fets and how that it seems to appear from a end user point of view, right? Because I'm not trained on the Carnival fets, unfortunately. But you see that budgeting and that planning ahead, it's something that cannot be trivialized because I am sure, I have no proof, but I am sure that the big names, and I'm going to name any names, we know who they are. They already have their next 5 fets planned out. I mean, COVID, of course, was a spoke in the wheel, but they would have already been looking down, down the pipeline, and they know the budgets that they need to trigger, and because they know what happened this year, and our end users, they listen to their customers, what they want to experience in next time. And you see that sort of people focus budgets, we still have to have a budget focus and stuff. That complement is priceless and it needs to be brought. I don't know if it's there, but certainly that bringing that across to any facility is going to help you get over that finish line. Because when you have that people focus in terms of, you know, that every time people come into your facility, you're talking athletes, you're talking people who are just spectators, you're right. People who are more vested, maybe sponsors, whoever. Everybody is getting what they want out of this facility. And that also speaks to alignment in terms of you from I love how Sherlan keeps saying the management side and the technical side, right? But there needs to be a marriage between the two, because the technical people can't be, doing whatever they're doing, and then the management people want something different. We need to support that bigger picture. So if our focus on a strategic level for that facility is for this facility to be the number 1 cricketing facility in the world, we're being very ambitious, right? That's what we want. What does that mean in terms of our facility management, right? What is that goal? What is that plan? What is going to be that budget, right? What is going to be the resources for this to happen, for it to be realized? So I think one key difference outside of the consistency and the experience would be the people focus and budget. Those are and 3 planning. Those are the 3 I will add that I think somehow the carnival people, they're getting that right. They're getting it real right.
Yes. Yes. I will add, from the facility perspective, is how you market your facilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amenities that you're offering.
Yes.
So that's what carnival have. So when you go to a carnival fete, you're safe, the food offering, so you're waiting, you're salivating to taste this and that and the other. The entertainment, so you have an idea when they market the fete, this is the experience I'm going to have, even though you already had it. For the people who have never been, for us, we're trying to attract more people who have never come to your facility.
Right.
So we need to market the facility. We need to market it in a way that not just what on the pitch that you'll be safe and it's an experience. You need to highlight the amenities. The amenities has to be something that you select. So what you're offering in a concession stand. So sometimes people go just to have something there, they know that they're going to be comfortable. So how we market it is also very important from a facility perspective. You have to partner with your event promoter. Because again, we own the facility. We don't own the event. So we are partnering, we are working. So a very good partnership is also important from a facility management perspective. So we're partnering with our event promoters, be it sport, FET, convention, whatever the case may be, and we have to market it together. And that's how we're going to add on to the consistency and everything that Giselle said. I will just add that part there as well.
Yes,
Okay?
totally agree.
If Terry Fenwick had both of you all as strikers yesterday with a Bahamas boy,
I for sure could score a goal, I tell you.
really
I would have been screaming any sideline.
really score a lot of goals today with this show. I must say. I can't leave without we have Canuck here with us.
Okay.
And they are saying, private entities have to turn a profit to remain in the market. Sporting entities that receive state or international funds operate on a different premise. Sherlan, would you want to speak to that, especially what it is you said as your closing remarks, quickly when it comes to what Canuck would have mentioned?
Right.
Thank you very much, Canuck, for coming in the conversation. We appreciate it.
Good. So we have to remember that facilities are a public good. Supply of facilities from the government perspective, it is a public good. So they're offering facilities for sporting organization to utilize. Remember, they don't own, none of the NSOs own any of the facility. So all facilities are owned by the government. So you bill it for them to use it. And so it is a matter of, no, the NGB, you have the government supplying a facility, but is it their policy to be financially viable? And if they really want to be financially viable, then they need to operationalize the facility. You cannot want something and do something totally different from what you're trying to achieve. So we may say, and a lot of the times when you talk in sports, you always public, private, public, and all this thing. We need to be specific as to what is private, what is public. And from a facility perspective, it's a public facility. And the government has to come up with policies to decide whether or not what they want to do. So I am saying from how we operate now, we need to focus on utilization. If we have people coming to the facility, we will make the money in the long run. We will make the money. And we could have parallel things going on, the same way how you're going to have fets and you're going to have events, you have convention, you have sporting events. It's the same way you can make money on one hand and then make sure people using it. A facility should not be empty. It should not be empty. You're wasting money on both ends. So those are some of the things people have to understand. And it's not just about it's private and we're going to make money. And I think it's a little more deep and a lot more variables that we put in together that we have to work together to make it work. Okay?
Giselle, your closing remarks?
Sure. And, so much to say. We really need that second episode.
Yeah.
But just to add, right? So to Sherlan's point, the in TTF, we recently had a thing on COVID-19 and persons getting back into the workplace, right? And one of the key issues that facility managers saw was the lack of use of their building. Remember, you were away from your building, so the lack of use of certain building systems. So that really corroborates what Sherlan just said in terms of if you have these great facilities just sitting down, and this is not COVID related, it's just sitting down there because nobody booking it, nobody using it, then that actually works against the facility. And you actually, all you're doing there is increasing your maintenance budget because you're going to have to spend more money. So it's not because something not being used and that we don't have to spend no money. You actually end up spending more money because of the lack of use, right? That's a real issue. But in closing, I think what we've established here today is the need for partnership in terms of that alignment between the what we want out of that facility and how we're going to make it happen. So whether it is we want to get very technologically advanced and we want to have that sporting facility of the 25th century, or whether we want to remain very traditional and focus on what we just have, the same strategy needs to be in place. We need to have that alignment of what we want. We need to have a focus on planning and forecasting. If we could have been there from the beginning, that would be ideal, but we know that hard. So we're not there. We missed that opportunity. But let's see what we could do now. And part of that is about establishing what we have, knowing. We talked about a bit about our inventory, knowing what your facility has, right? Because it's only if you know what you have, then you're able to actually be able to improve it, right? Or if you need to change it out or whatever. But that establishment of that baseline in terms of my sporting facility, I know at present this is it, and I have a very comprehensive understanding of all the systems within it, becomes very powerful in terms of you moving forward with any improvements. So it's a comprehensive view, treating your facility as that agent to be able to get revenue. And we said even surpassing the focus on revenue was about that consistent, great experience, that level of service. That every time somebody comes there, it's fantastic. Whether they decide win or not, we know that when they went in there to be very granular, the toilets flushed,
Yes.
the garbage bins were emptied. The concession stands, as Sherlan said, it had food, or it had our favorite, bait and shark that we like to get, or the favorite pepper sauce that we wanted to get. And it's a whole, the person not even thinking about, that the ground sticky or that my seat broke and they don't sit here, because our seat wobbling. No.
Yes.
So we just know when we come in, we could focus on what it is. And I love how Sherlan put that, what you came for. What I came for as a fan, is not to think about all those systems things. That's my job, right? As a fan, I'm coming there for my experience. And therefore facility management is really to enhance that experience through the alignment, through that focus on consistent quality, through that planning, that budgeting, that use of resources, through that education, right? Because it needs to be a collective effort. And if we don't start with the plan, we'll always keep saying, oh, well, we can't do that because, or we can't do this because. You need to start somewhere. So of all those things we listed, start somewhere, right? So that we could start the ball rolling.
Yes.
Program Director, Ms. Sherlan Cabralis, closing words.
Oh, geez. I thought I'd talk before I was answering. No. Gosh, my closing word is really, and I have to go back as being a lecturer and training young people, is that we need to operationalize the facility. We need to utilize the human resources that we have right now. They are capable, they are available, and they can be utilized in every facility, be it central government facility or local government facilities. They are there. And actually, I truly believe that sports facility management is the industry that can consume a lot of our graduating class beyond and beyond. And that is my closing mark. If anybody has to listen to who's listening and who would listen to it after, we have the human resources. Let's use them and stop maintaining empty facilities. Okay? Well, I want them to maintain it, but stop maintaining it. We want to maintain a full facility. And we could only do that if we really operationalize it. So that would be my closing.
Ladies, thank you very much. We all started this 4-part series, sport, and in a magnificent way, you all made facility management into a topic that I mean, just somebody when I tell you.
It looks sexy. You don't want to use the word sexy?
I would not do that, but if it is you want to be able to do such, I want to say thank you very much, Sherlan, for speaking on my behalf. If it's one time I want to say thanks for that, is no. Definitely, people are saying, they're laughing at that with us. Someone say they enjoyed the session. So it's not only myself, but I really and truly enjoyed the session. I want to wish you all safety during this time.
Thank you.
Especially practice continue for not only yourselves, but persons who are watching on. Continue to practice the 3 W's. And let's try to get through this pandemic, not only in one piece physically, but most importantly, mentally and spiritually. So take care of yourself, guys. Be safe during this difficult time, and let's continue to watch out for each other. So have a great week ahead. Be blessed and enjoy. Talk to you all soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye. So that was part 1 of Sport and, but episode 55 for us, Futsal868 Corner Talks. We want to say thank you very much to everyone who tuned in on this Sunday evening. It was a pleasure having this great conversation with each one of you all. And again, as I said, wish you all best of luck and a great week ahead. So until next week, where we speak to you on project management, we have with us Dr. John Lewis, Vice President of Marketing for the Project Management Institute of Southern Caribbean chapter, who will be joining us on part 2 of the series Sport and. Once again, have a great afternoon. I'm your host, Geoffrey Edwards. Be blessed.